Good morning, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Okay. If you have anything, we'd like engagement, but to do that, please capture your comments or your questions in the chat box. I'm going to moderate the session, so at a convenient time, I'll interrupt Natascha and ask her to respond to your questions. So, but please use the chat box. This is intended to be interactive, so don't feel shy to ask a question or make a comment. Okay, Natascha, over to you. Do you want to share your screen and take us into it?
So, good morning, everybody. My name is Natascha Mc Allister. I have been working with the ASDSA, for those who don't know me, for about 10 years now, in various roles. I have recently acquired my Skills Development Master professional designation with the ASDSA. Before that, I had my technician. And for those of you that don't know, I've recently moved over to the UK, but still keeping my finger on the pulse, because I think there's a lot that we can learn in South Africa from, global skills development, landscapes, and information. So Andy asked me to just talk a little bit about, what I've experienced since I've moved over here in terms of qualified professionals and how to access professional skills development and designations globally. I don't know if you've realized or noticed the push towards professional designations in South Africa. So I think Ramaphosa spoke about the need for professionalism in the public sector. But certainly also from SAQA, QCTO, there is definitely more of a push towards professionalism. And you can see that coming in from around the world. There's definitely certain sectors already in South Africa, the financial and the banking sectors, who are huge, with big global footprints, that are upskilling their staff with only international qualifications and professional designations, even though they're not recognized by SAQA or being funded by the CETA. So there's definitely a large push towards that. And, global corporates, they're looking for strategic partners that can really help them with, make good business decisions, stay relevant in competitive markets. So there's definitely a need, and it's crucial to improve professionalism in specific industries. So in the UK alone, there are 120 professional bodies that are regulated by about 100 regulators, and it looks like South Africa is definitely heading in that way. So, I mean, these professionals provide opportunities, employment opportunities, needed to build, strong economies, especially post-COVID. So it's become more and more relevant and important to push professionalism, in certain sectors. So what I did do, I did an exercise when I came over here to the UK, where I converted all my qualifications that I had acquired from South Africa, and with a company called Ectus, and they basically transferred, to UK standards my qualifications, which was quite an interesting exercise. And it was, they only accepted anything from SAQA, so it was all SAQA transcripts they only accepted. And then did the comparison, and it was pretty much on par. The only thing, of course, that they didn't except was my South African professional designations that I had acquired. And I suppose rightly so, because the skills development landscape in the UK and globally is actually quite different to how South Africa operates. Coming into the UK and wanting to obviously get into skills development landscape, I worked for 17 years in South Africa within the skills development landscape, and came over here, also with HR. I've got HR diplomas and that, and came over here, and none of it was actually recognized. And it took me a little while to actually find work, and after doing a lot of research into how the skills development landscape is in the UK, for example, being really different to South Africa. So, in South Africa, it's the employer's duties to submit workplace skills plans and information about skills development and within those organizations. And obviously the SETAs take that information and they identify what the skills needs or skills gaps are. However, in the UK, for example, they have what is called skills advisory panels who actually collect data on skills development. So they connect and partner with universities and training providers and with corporates through forums, and then they collect that information around skills development. They are funded by the Department of Education and receive grants in order to operate. And there are 38 panels around the UK, and they really, the information that they gather from stakeholders engagement and research, they then report on what are skills needs and skills gaps. And obviously around that is also a very big focus around professionalism as well. So,
Natascha, sorry, just a question. So am I right in assuming that they are similar to our SETAs, except their funding mechanism is different? Are you saying they're basically doing the same thing?
I suppose they're basically doing the same thing, but they are, but it's not the employer or the organization's responsibility to report, submit reports. So they just gather information. So they gather information about, what qualifications people are applying for, and engaging with key stakeholders within specific industries. And identifying through that where there are skills needs or skills gaps.
Listen, and you've been chatting, there've been 3 questions that have come up. Michael Tiger said, is there an equivalent professional body such as the ASDSA in the UK?
I'm going to touch on that a bit later, so I'll get to that.
Anthea Ross asking, did they accept or recognize your university qualifications, in her brackets, register with the Department of Higher Education?
Yes, they did, but I had to provide. I did an IMM marketing diploma 20 years ago, and I had to go. I went through the process of acquiring my transcript from SAQA. So they would only accept things, a transcript from SAQA. So I did that, and they accepted it, and they matched it to almost like a marketing degree, because it was a three-year diploma. So it was matched. Yes, so they do.
And then a last question from Michelle Fonseca, which is probably not directed at you, but more at the rest of us. She says, is ASDSA not recognized internationally? If not, is ASDSA doing something about this? Michelle, it's a good question. I haven't thought about it myself. I'll undertake to take it to Exco and let us have a think about it.
Because I think it's crazy that they're not accepting it. But I think Andy, what if we had made, because it's the professional designation is accepted and recognized by SAQA. So they should provide, I suppose, a transcript or something, once you've acquired those professional designations. Is that something you think that could happen?
I don't know. It's worth asking them. I get that international qualifications are internationally benchmarked as part of our qualification design. So if you come in another country, you can look at the exercise that was done to benchmark it. It's in the descriptor of the qualification, but we don't have a similar thing for professional designations that I'm aware of. And I guess it's kind of an exercise of talking to other professional bodies internationally and seeing where we have common ground.
So maybe that is something that yeah, you know, I could actually look at as engaging more with the professional body that I'm going to speak about a bit later.
From ASDSA point of view, I would appreciate that if you can just have a conversation with them to see what their view is. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, no, definitely. I'll definitely do that. It's something that I actually was thinking about doing as well. And then, I don't know, you know, even before COVID, there were already you could access, you know, global universities. I mean, I did courses through Coursera. Although I mean, it was a University of Cape Town certificate in disability inclusion and education. But I think with COVID, it's just opened up, you know, the world to you. So you can acquire a master's, you know, of business administration with the University of Cambridge, you know, all 100% online. You can you know, a Bachelor of Science, Computer Science with the University of London. So these are courses that you can do online and you know, access worldwide university degrees. And I think that's really going to push up the competition a little bit within higher education in South Africa. So, you know, you can be in a rural, remote part of the country and be able to access these qualifications at a fraction of the price. And certainly think it's going to, you know, it's going to push up the competition within, you know, higher education institutes in South Africa.
Natascha, what is your sense as to how international these, do you think there's a trend to people looking more towards international rather than local qualifications? What is your sense?
I think the problem is in South Africa still is that SAQA and the CETAs are not wanting to really recognize international qualifications. So, you know, that's the only problem in South Africa. But I think people are going to start realizing, well, you know, do they need to? You know, if they can, if it means that they can get a position or a job, you know, in an organization that's even, you know, somewhere around the world, where they could work from home, then, you know, do they even need South African qualification?
In terms of the people that you work with, do many of them have a non-UK based qualification?
Well, no, but I mean, I'm now working within the charity sector. So not that I've come across, but I certainly, once I engage a bit more with the professional designation, with the professional association that govern human resources and learning and development, I definitely, you know, those are sort of questions that I will investigate and ask when, you know, engaging with them. So definitely something that would be interesting to understand and, you know, further.
And then a further question from Cheryl Boyson. How do you think that will impact on our accreditation costing for training providers?
Sure. So I don't understand the question. So are you asking?
Well, I'm also not quite sure what you're asking. Do you want to give us some more information and then we'll come back to it? Cheryl, if you can just type a bit more in. In the meantime, Natascha, maybe move on to your next slide and we'll come back to Cheryl question.
Sure. So what I find really interesting here as well is that, you know, in South Africa, obviously we've got learnership programs, and but in the UK there is a huge push towards apprenticeships. But apprenticeships are not just trade tests. You can do an apprenticeship program for any qualification, you know, in any sector. So they work similarly here, where an organization, if they have an annual payroll expense of more than 3 million, you pay 0.5% towards a levy that goes into a fund that is allocated only to your organization. So you can tap into that fund if you place employees onto apprenticeship programs. There isn't a distinguish between employed and unemployed, because everyone that goes onto an apprenticeship program has to be employed. So they would be employed with the organization. They can be sort of, students where they are, coming in and just getting minimum wage and then acquiring the qualification while they're working. There's definitely a huge push towards that. And what I thought was quite great was that that fund, all that money is allocated only to your organization. You can, if you find that you're not spending that money in the year period, because if you don't utilize those funds, they just go they go then over to government, who use it then, I don't know what, obviously for other skills development initiatives. But non-paying levy companies can, an organization can basically sponsor a non-levy paying company, and so they would, again, if they pay 5% towards the qualification, they can get still 95% covered but that's only for apprenticeships. Are there any questions? No.
Natascha, interesting is, I've seen recently that there's been more conversation about using the words apprenticeship across the board. And I've been wondering how our society would respond to that, because, for example, people in the financial services accept that there might be on a learnership, but apprenticeship sounds like something that a tradesman would be involved in, and there might be a negative reaction to it. But you're saying it's an international trend. That's the more common usage.
Yes, yeah, they call it an apprenticeship. And it's the global word for somebody that is employed and studying at the same time whilst they are employed. So they if they're doing it, even if it's a 3-year degree, obviously it takes a little bit longer, because they would be working, sort of say for 3 weeks a month, and then that last week they would go then to college, and then back in the workplace, and they also have to submit assignments and things like that. But it's for any qualification. It's not, obviously not just trade.
And just a word of warning, you have 10 minutes left for your session.
Okay. So yeah, I'm going to just move on to now the professional body that governs skills development and HR professionals in the UK and globally, actually. So an organization called CRPD, they're the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, and they basically, are governed by they are a huge emphasis on professional designation. So any job that I applied for within skills development or HR, you have to have that CRPD professional designation. It's quite expensive. You can RPL, your experience. It takes about 3 months, and it costs almost £3,000 to do that. And very specific with the outcomes. So you have to provide evidence that you are on that level. So they've got there's four different members. So that it's chartered member, there's a chartered fellow, chartered champion, and an affiliate member. So obviously as you go higher the membership, you have to have certain degrees or years of experience in that field. And it is really different, the HR laws and that are a little bit different to South Africa. So I suppose you can understand why they would expect you to have this professional designation. So this organization, they also govern, Ireland, the Middle East, Asia. They have about 160,000 members around the world. And it's the only body in the world that can award chartered status to individual HR and learning and development professionals. So CRPD, the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development are definitely something to look at if you're considering moving in the HR or learning and development field, over globally. And then very strong emphasis on continuous professional development. So again, there's an organization that monitors all continuous professional designation short courses. They, if something is not certified, CPD certified, then you can't count it as continuous professional development. They assess the professionalism, of the content within those workshops or whatever it is that you're doing. And then,
So this organization, this service, so they cover all sectors. They're not specific to an industry.
All sectors. They cover all sectors. They've got hundreds of thousands of different workshops and short learning courses and reading content, and they cover all sectors.
And how do they remain current? Because I think a key thing for us is new information, new technology changes, and the education field is under dramatic change. Is your picture that this service is current?
Absolutely. No, definitely, because they put new content on all the time. So they've got, how I understand the organization works, is they've got scouts that then, connect with training providers, and they put short courses or on from there. So they scout programs or workshops from within different sectors, and so it's constantly relevant and constantly updated.
Another question, and it kind of seems to me there's a strong link between this and micro-credentialing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think definitely I think I've seen also, we certainly need to start heading in that way, because I think in South Africa still you're responsible for your own CBD, and you can say that you've read this or done this and put anything down, but this, an organization like this will ensure that the content that is being read or the short workshops is really relevant and conducive to that profession and up to date.
Listen, while we're on the subject, if I can just make a quick plug to everybody, please make sure you've diarised our AGM virtual meeting on the 13th of October, because we've got Dr. Julie Reddy, head of SACWA, talking about micro-credentialing and the NQF and how those two are going to work together. So please, and by the way, the voting form for the new board members and for the resolutions will be going out today. So look out for it. And please cast your votes. The deadline for voting is Friday of next week. Thanks. Back to you, Natascha.
Okay. And then I just wanted to highlight that, this becomes more and more trend, especially I can see it here in the UK and globally, where people, you can connect to an organization called FlexJobs, and you can work and do a job that's anywhere in the world. So there's definitely a more of a trend and a shift towards that. You can be a graphic designer, or you can be a personal assistant, or there's just so many jobs that you can do from your laptop anywhere around the world, and there's definitely globally a huge shift towards that. Organizations they're saving costs because they don't have infrastructure costs, so they just paying a salary to someone who is using their own laptop and their own, setting up, within their own home. There's huge cost savings for that. So there's definitely a huge shift for that. And I think that looking at South Africa, it opens up a lot of doors for people as well, because you could, you had the opportunity to work for a global company, from your backyard, from your home. So there's definitely a big shift towards that as well. So I just, FlexJobs, if you want to have a look at that, You can upload your CV and become sort of part of their pool, and then go in any industry. And that's pretty much it.
Cool. Thanks, Natascha. Anybody got any final comments or questions for Natascha? Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. Natascha?
If anyone's got any questions, anything that something they want me to investigate and something of interest, please do feel free to email me. You can send it through by Angelique. I'm always looking for reasons to research something globally and especially in the UK. So please, if you have any further questions, please let me know. I think that's it then.
Cool. I don't see anything else here, so I think we're done. Natascha, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a lovely weekend, everybody. And weather's changed dramatically here in the UK, so things are heading towards winter here. But I think it's warming up in South Africa again. Hey.
Yes, it is.
Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Thank you so much.
Then bye-bye then.